Welcome back. If you're just joining us, today's boss lady is one interior architect, Noni Wanyee. She welcomed me to see one of her projects that was ongoing at the National Library, and I was in awe. There is so much thought put into everything, and I could see the fruition of the computerized images back at her office into this magnificent artistic pieces in one of Kenya's heritage.
This was a really exciting project, especially when we were first addressed on this project, because it's a project that involves everyone in the country, and I was so thrilled to just find that the architect had involved drums. So I wanted to know what the connection was with the drums, and it was one element that connected all the Kenyans that we could never argue about. And so I thought that was really interesting. So as the interior architect, I did not want to ignore that piece of important information. I wanted to bring the drums here in all forms, because the drums are different within our different people. And so we thought about how we could just stretch the drums in different angles. And some of our drums have patterns to it. So we did some pattern drums. We did some interesting drums on our counters. And we thought, hey, we've never seen a counter that has drums, so let's just make a counter with drums. Then of course we stretched the drums to the wall paneling. And the wall paneling has various different drums that are from the different tribes. And so a Kenyan can go in there and identify their particular drum. On the two sides of the image on the reception area, we have drums that are our typical Kenyan drum. And so we thought that was interesting. So we wanted to be able to have a focal main drum. As you can see, the ceiling is also made of drums in various forms. So we just took the shape of the drum and played around with it just to see what we could get, and we thought, oh, it's interesting. Our contractor is amazing, because I pretty much had anything thrown to him and he would just be so excited and just acclimate to the situation, and we would sit down, put it on paper, think about it, and see how the installation would work, and this is what we got.
I look at the patterns around the library, the tribal patterns that clearly stands out, and I can't help but wonder the reason behind it.
It's all about design and repetition, balance and contour. So we chose the drum as our main theme. So we wanted to be able to continue the drum. But then we take the drum and then we change that drum with its elements into the language of a Kenyan motif. So we repeated in a lot of our buildings this type of motif. Where did we find it? From the clothes, from our patterns, our fabrics, and all of that. So we took that motif and reorganized it into a shape of a drum. Okay? Yes, and some of these spaces, we want to be able to have open spaces, but with a little bit of privacy. And so it was the best place that we thought of placing this. And you can also see on our drums on this side, the motif is also repeated onto our drums. So Kenyans have a lot of ideas, and we're very artistic, we're very knowledgeable, and it was just the idea of taking what Kenyans have already created and also bringing it into our space, including in our luggage area. Yeah, we've got a lot of arts and crafts and a lot of knowledge from all the Kenyans, and wanted to bring that from our cultural background into our modern grounds. We Kenyans are very colorful people. And one thing that we can all agree through the past and our history is that we've already kind of identified the Maasai to be what is connected internationally as Kenyan. So a lot of the times when a foreigner sees a Maasai, So straight away they think of Kenya, okay? And they think of Maasai, they think of Kenya. And as the designer on the project, in the Maasai color tones, every Kenyan can find their colors within the Maasai necklace. And so the necklace became the idea of the entryway into our library. This is where we come to learn, and so we want to be able to relate to colors that we understand. And because our colors are mostly primary colors, we don't use secondary colors because we are so bright and vagrant. So these are the colors with the necklace that related to everybody. And so it was important for us to create a path within the library that comes in. Well, what do you see when you come in here? We all come in here when we're so young. We come in here to learn. Obviously, we wanted this to be a focal point of the space and to sort of have a continual element that is staged by our drums. And so we thought a young girl who comes in to learn and now looks at our heroes. We have a couple heroes from the outside and inside the building who they can aspire to. And so that's why it was important that when you walk into our library, we have something that provides you with an understanding of you're coming into the space as a very young person without a lot of knowledge, and you're leaving this space with quite a bit of knowledge. And so that was the inspiration of this area. So the idea was to implement our culture. And to implement our culture, we needed to implement our people, okay? And who are our people? Our 44 tribes. So we didn't have enough columns to put 44 tribes and say this one is specifically a certain tribe. But we wanted to bring in ideas of an understanding of art where every Kenyan can relate to this art and they can see themselves in it. If they can't see themselves in it, they can see their children. If they can't see their children, they can see their parents or their grandparents. And so we thought about doing something that was subtle, that has a sense of belonging. So each one of these columns, I'm sure every Kenyan can find themselves in these columns, including our 44th tribe, which was recently brought in. And so each column is designed very, very carefully. It took a lot of time, but it also took a team behind all the consultants to agree that this was what we were going to use so that every Kenyan feels at home. We want to make sure that every Kenyan feels that they belong here.
One thing that stood out to me were the art pieces in the columns
that we have, and I want to start, I think my column in the front here can give you an idea. This is our Nobel Prize winner, Wangari Maathai, known for her protection of our trees in Kenya. So that was interesting. We wanted to put her out here because she's important to the country, and we wanted young children to be inspired by her. We want young children to be able to ask a question and say, "Mommy, who's this?" You know, and to be able to have stories behind all this culture. And here we have Mekatalini. Mekatalini is up on top there. She was a young warrior, very brave. Yes. We also introduced a few authors. This is Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and I think a lot of us can relate to him with the river between in our high school. So we also wanted to remind our young Kenyans who our main authors were and how far we have come as a country. So that's why Ngugi wa Thiong'o was very important.
Clearly, the Kenyan blueprint is written all over the library, and speaking of the blueprint, here's today's Boss Lady quote of the day. Every person who has ever achieved anything has been knocked down many times, but all of them picked themselves up and kept going. This quote is by Wangari Maathai.
This space, first of all, when you're driving out here, to create some sort of interest, okay? To stop by, to not just pass this building as just another building. So we have Koitarel here, who prophesied about the snake, the big long snake. You should read about him, he's very interesting. And that turned out to be our Ugandan railway. So on the opposite end, we have Siokarene, who was a brave young woman. She was brave enough to be able to protect our land and our plantations from the foreigners who had come in to take over our land, the colonials, let me just say that. So she protected our lands and fought for human rights, basically. And so we felt like the designer with the design team and the consultants that she was rightfully a good inspiration for us young women who are ready to tackle the world and not to be shy or afraid. But the most particular and important thing is the people behind this project. This was a project done by all Kenyans, by Kenyans, for Kenyans. So I think we're very proud of that.